Welcome again to the Bulldog Breakdown. Belue, Hutson Mason, heading into the Kentucky game here in week number 8 of the college football season. Week 7, very disappointing HUD as South Carolina comes into Sanford Stadium and upsets the Georgia Bulldogs. A little surprised that we didn't give Rodrigo Blankenship a shot to win the game with a 55-yard field goal. Determined, it seemed, to run one more play and get a few more yards closer before we gave Blankenship an opportunity. Turned out to be a big mistake, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I see it a little differently. I think Kirby's right. 8 seconds left. You got to have belief that you can get a few more yards, and the belief is that Jake Fromm is going to throw the ball out of bounds if nothing's open. So I don't blame Kirby for trying that. What I have a problem with is why the play call got called in late. You don't have timeouts. I don't think Kirby knew in the situation what he wanted to do, and I think Coley was sitting there waiting on Kirby. Are we going to punt it? Are we going to go for it? What are we doing? And so at the core, that's kind of my problem is why are you not a step ahead? And, you had no timeout, so the play gets called in late. Fromm decides to check it at line of scrimmage. The receivers adjust. They don't give him a second to realign. Illegal shift. Now you're bumped out of field goal range. So I'm fine with the decision. It's like the fake punt in the SEC championship game last year. But why wasn't Kirby standing next to the ref willing to burn a timeout when he realized that Bama was in punt safe? So it's kind of those in-game decisions where, and look, maybe Kirby has more on his plate because he's got an inexperienced defensive coordinator. He can't just sit back with a bird's eye view and be the head coach and worry about those things. So I was fine with the decision, but again, his contingency plan seemed like he didn't really have one.
Well, the problem with me is we ran the play before, and it was pretty obvious South Carolina's defense was not going to allow Georgia to run a quick out and then get out of bounds. Mm-hmm. So you didn't consider that you might get a penalty and knock you out of something you overlooked, I think. So the 4 turnovers, obviously the big difference in the game. And let's talk about the biggest mistake of the game for Jake Fromm, the pick 6 right before halftime, which allowed South Carolina to take a lead to the locker room. Jake Fromm, I'm sure, wishes he had that one back.
Yeah, and I know you and I were talking about this off air. Jake claims that he was trying to throw the ball out of bounds or really only put it in a place that George Pickens could catch it. And
I think that's the scenario.
He gets internal pressure, and I think in that situation, it's right before the half. It's a tie ball game. Jake has this feeling where you got to get points. You want to get points because it's a close game and every point matters. But he gets pressure, and he really doesn't have time to get everything on it to throw it out of bounds. And I think if he went back, he watched the tape and rewatched it, he would say, I just need to eat it. I need to take the sack. Sometimes you're not going to be able to hit a home run on every play. You're not even going to be able to throw the ball away. Sometimes you just got to take a sack. And I know it's a 2-minute drive. You want points. You want all that. I get it. But you can't turn a bad play into a catastrophe, and he did that. And unfortunately, it was a big momentum shift in the game. And I felt like that part in the game for him kind of rattled him. He hadn't faced a lot of adversity. Sure as heck hadn't thrown a pick this year, let alone a pick 6.
Or gotten sacked.
And so I thought that moment in the game, we saw him miss some throws moving forward that he just hits 100% of the time.
I think what happened there is turned out to be a bad decision. Isaiah Wilson gets beat inside, so there's quick pressure on Jake. He's looking to make a play. He's trying to get the ball out there. He's off his back foot, which is a no-no. You've heard it for years and years. Throwing off your back foot, the ball floats a little bit. Their national player of the week there, that cornerback. Yeah, he just made a great play on it. But your defense is shutting down South Carolina because they've got their third-team quarterback in there. Mm-hmm. There's no need to force a play. Make sure you get that ball out of bounds and don't allow a play like that to happen. Really, really killed him. Did like how he came back and tied the game in the second half, fourth quarter, where he makes a beautiful throw in crunch time, game hanging in the balance. It's now or never. Makes a beautiful touch throw to Demetrius Robertson in the back of the end zone. I believe one of the hardest throws to make in the red zone, middle of the end zone. You don't want to throw it too far. If you underthrow it, the pass gets broken up or picked off. It's got to be perfect. He flighted that ball in there perfectly.
Incredible precision, and I thought Dan Orlowski from ESPN hit on this a couple times. Remember, that drive started on their own 2 or 3 yard line. That's a 1 minute, 2 minute drive. after a game in which you've struggled. And so your confidence isn't at an all-time high, and you got to go 97 yards to win the game. And Jake Fromm was at his best when his best was needed. And I know he didn't end up winning the game, but that tells you a lot about the mental toughness of Jake Fromm. We saw it last year after he struggled in Baton Rouge against LSU. He bounced back with a big win at Florida. I'm expecting Jake to bounce back the same way. This kid's made of the right stuff, and he's cut from the right cloth. He's mentally tough in between the years and usually bounces back after a bad game.
Look, the offensive coordinator, James Coley, is under criticism for some of the play calling. I'm hearing they ran it up the middle too much from a lot of the armchair quarterbacks out there.
There's a lot of those, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is. I thought the passing game got exposed on Saturday against South Carolina. Once Cager left the game, his go-to receiver, really no separation by the other receivers for the most part. Not a lot of open receivers to throw the ball to, and I thought the offensive line and pass protection, there was a chink in the armor. A lot of times giving up quarterback pressures to a four-man rush, the offensive line needs to improve that and get better there.
It's the first time all season I can say that Georgia lost the line of scrimmage battle, and Javion Kinlaw, number 3 for South Carolina, he was special. He held Georgia to 4 yards per rush, which is their lowest of all season. I know Swift had over 100 yards, but in the running game and the passing game, that 3 technique and the interior part of that South Carolina defense, they were a main reason why, if not the major reason why, South Carolina held Georgia to only 17 points.
All right, like Kirby said in his press conference, we're focused now on Kentucky.
South Carolina still.
Yeah, we're still talking about South Carolina. Focused on Kentucky. Talk about that matchup next. Be a part of radio history here in Atlanta by securing the 680 The Fan 25th Anniversary Retro T-shirt, like Hutson Mason and I are wearing right now.
Great thing is all proceeds will go to a great cause. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, all the great folks over there will benefit from it. You can get your shirt and hat, trucker hat. That's always great for the summertime. 680thefan.com/retrobuck. People may get that confused with Metro because we're going to look so good in it.
Don't fool around. Do it now and be looking good. Buck Belue, Hutson Mason, focused on Georgia and Kentucky as that one comes up on Saturday. And the quarterback situation there, Georgia might be facing one of the better dual-threat quarterbacks you're going to see in college football this year. A wide receiver, well, it was a high school quarterback, a starter at wide receiver early in the year. They've had some injury problems at quarterback. Lynn Bowden Jr. steps in last week and leads a comeback victory over Arkansas to put one in the win column.
I did the Kentucky game earlier in the year when they played Eastern Michigan, and watching Bowden play, he reminds me a lot of Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb, former Kentucky player, but remember, he played quarterback in high school. They would use him in the Wildcat when he played there. This kid's kind of got the same skill set. I'm not saying he's as good as Randall Cobb, but I think he's got the unique skill set. He'll play in the slot. He's kind of slippery. He's a mismatch against linebackers, and then he's got explosive speed that he can beat you over the top. But obviously, he's going to play more quarterback because they've had injuries at the quarterback position. So it'll come down to, like we saw against South Carolina, can you construct a game plan that is around stopping him with his legs? Because, I mean, I can't imagine
24 carries against Arkansas.
I can't imagine, like South Carolina, that this kid, if forced from throwing from the pocket, the whole game could beat you.
Kentucky also pretty legitimate up front on both sides of the ball on the line of scrimmage, so there'll be a battle fought up front. I like the Georgia defense so deep and the ability to chase and pursue. I have a hard time seeing this mobile quarterback giving us too much trouble there. My focus is on the offense. I need to see this passing game improve a little bit this week. And Jake in crunch time against South Carolina missed DeAndre Swift in the pass route a couple of times that really could have made the difference in winning and losing. I'd love to see Swift get more involved in the passing game as a receiver. And James Cook also. Swift, I think, with 12 catches so far this season, 2 a game. I think they're selling him short. He's dynamic as a receiver. We need to get him the ball a little bit and try to get some explosives there.
He was your leading receiver against Tennessee, and I think, to your point, when the more you get him involved in the passing game, the more things open up for this offense. But yeah, I mean, this offense looks handcuffed, and you know, it's easy to blame it on Coley, and I definitely think he plays a major role in that. But there seems to just be a disconnect, Buck, and I don't know if it's from Kirby, if it starts with Kirby and to Coley, and Coley's not allowed to open this thing up because Kirby just wants to run the ball and play good defense. But somewhere in the chain of command, there's a disconnect from the trust of the calls being played reciprocated down to the players. And I don't understand that because you got the most trustworthy quarterback in all college football. It doesn't turn the ball over, makes great decisions. And you got dudes on the outside. I mean, we've seen Lawrence Cager. You got 2 5-stars on this roster.
Yeah, he'll miss the Kentucky game.
He'll miss the Kentucky game. But, I mean, this isn't a bunch of duds on the outside. Yeah. So we need to see, and I'm not saying we need to be a Big 12 offense, but we just need to take some shots and force defenses and tell defenses, we will take our shots. We won't land them all, but we're not scared to fire away. Yeah,
this is a Georgia team. Hopefully they circle the wagons coming off the upset, shocking loss. Gotten better, gotten tougher. Need to see some improvement. Need a victory over Kentucky before you head down to Jacksonville. That should be a good one with Florida. We'll be here to talk about it next week. Hope you'll join us. That'll do it for the Bulldog Breakdown this week.
Clear.
All right.
Thank you all.